Dueling bills in Wisconsin targeting the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. State Democrats introducing legislation that would prohibit local or state agencies from helping the feds, like ICE, detain someone solely based on being in the country illegally. It would apply to public buildings, child care centers, and places of worship.
Kids deserve to feel safe in school. People deserve to seek medical care without fear of separation or detainment.
Republicans, meantime, still expected to introduce their own bill they say would force compliance with federal laws.
It's going to require that everybody has to follow the law and cooperate with ICE.
Have you worked with Trump on this?
You're going to see next week.
All this as ICE raids publicly intensified in Chicago this past week. Illinois has no federal detention facilities because of a state law that prohibits cooperation between local and federal deportation officials. That means some arrested in Illinois are brought here to Wisconsin and the state's only detention facility that we visited this past week.
Wisconsin's only Immigration and Customs Enforcement Detention Center is located here, in the heart of small-town Juneau, inside the Dodge County Jail. About 100 ICE detainees who are in the country illegally are housed right here, right now. Cameras not allowed inside, all under the supervision of Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt, a loyal ally of President Trump. But the jail, the sheriff says, is at capacity, a combination of local inmates and those in the custody of ICE and the U.S. Marshals.
Has anything dramatically changed in the last month or the last 2 months inside your jail?
Nothing has changed for us in our operations. We were full under President Obama, under President Biden, under President Trump the first time. And right now we still remain full. When they clear us out with taking some immigration detainees out, they'll bring others to backfill.
Have you received any new detainees since President Trump was sworn in?
We receive new detainees weekly, so it has nothing to do with the president. We always receive new detainees. I can say yes, yes to that question, because within the last week we received more, just like the week before that.
Who are these people? Are these convicted criminals? Are these people ICE just ran into? Just describe who some of these people are, if you know.
The vast majority of the ICE detainees in our jail are criminal aliens. They're the ones that have committed crimes, have been arrested by immigration, and who have been brought here because of criminal offenses here in the United States. And the only reason they're here in addition to that is because they're here in the country illegally as well.
Offenses specifically in Wisconsin, or could they have happened in other parts of the country and they're brought here?
That's completely up to immigration.
Yeah.
It very well could be that they're somewhere else in the country and then they're brought here to Wisconsin.
Would ICE alert you if there would be any increased or enhanced enforcements in the state?
They really don't consult with us. We are a holding facility. They call us and say, hey, we have this many people, can you house them? And we say yes or no, and that really is the extent of it. So they don't consult with me what their operations are unless I have something actively going on here in Dodge County. And that doesn't happen very frequently.
I'm curious, just as a local sheriff here in Wisconsin, as a supporter of President Trump, what do you make of all this talk around immigration and enhanced deportation efforts?
I actually support these efforts to make sure that people who break the law are held accountable. If you look at me as a sheriff here in Dodge County over the last 10 years, my big push and narrative has been we hold people accountable, whether they're a citizen of the United States or not. And if you violate the law, you need to be held accountable.
Would you have your deputies assist ICE if they asked you to go into a school or go into a church here in the county?
If immigration came in and asked for assistance, I will assist them just like any other law enforcement agency. If the FBI came here and asked for assistance, or if the Secret Service asked for assistance, I will help them. If immigration comes and asks for assistance, I will help them. Now, you talk about going into a church, going into a school. We're gonna take a look at the procedures and how you're going to take a look at these. I don't think immigration is really going to be going into schools and churches to take care of operations. That's not how they operate necessarily, and unless there's a risk to the community. But to be very clear, I, as the sheriff, no police chief, no police officer in the state of Wisconsin has the authority to arrest anybody on an immigration violation. Only ICE can do that, but we will assist them in their operations to make sure that we hold people accountable and we keep people safe.
A former U.S. Capitol police officer at the Capitol on January 6th returned to Wisconsin. Just days after President Trump pardoned the more than 1,500 charged or convicted in the attack on the Capitol, Harry Dunn hosted events in Milwaukee and Madison. Dunn is now campaigning for Democratic candidates across the country.
This, we've talked about before, has January 6th has become incredibly political. Have you embraced that in some regards in terms of speaking out against Trump and Republicans?
Well, think about it. I mean, it is political no matter how you try to separate it. The people were there that day because they were trying to stop the certification of an election. You can't get more political than that. The problem that I find where it shouldn't be political is condemning the wrongness of it. And that's where we're at right now. People are unable to say this was wrong. And we have candidates all across the country, all across this state that have made January 6th, where you stand on it, it's a litmus test to show your loyalty to the president. And that's problematic. So it is political.
Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin told us recently that January 6th and the charges were a grotesque miscarriage of justice throughout the Biden administration. Certainly, as it relates to people that participated in January 6th, a lot of the misjustice had to be rectified, but I probably would have gone at it a little more cautiously.
Ron Johnson is one of the senators that me and a couple other officers met with shortly after January 6th to implore him to vote for the bipartisan commission in the Senate to investigate it, a 9/11 style commission to investigate January 6th. Now listen, I am all for criminal justice reform. I believe in it. I think it's necessary. I think that punishments need to fit the crimes. But to just broadly erase it and just say that it didn't happen, that's not criminal justice reform. It's a slap in the face to law enforcement.
In terms of you out campaigning for certain candidates or causes, does that dilute at all the message, the overall message you're trying to send about what happened that day?
What is the overall message? The overall message is that day was wrong. They tried to steal our democracy. That's the message I'm trying to convey.
Okay, up next, the changes from our investigation at the deadly driver's license loophole in Wisconsin. What's happening across the state next?